Welcome back to Crime Wire Weekly. Today we have a stacked episode loaded with everything from heartbreaking tragedies to head-scratching stupidity that you have to hear to believe. We're going to kick things off with a disturbing case of an Ohio house of horrors involving 16 children. Then we'll break down the tragic discovery of the body of Mississippi teen Nolan Wells. You'll also hear about an elderly Louisiana carjacker who gets caught red-handed, followed by an incredible story of a toddler found alive after a morgue pronounced the toddler dead.
That's insane. I don't even know how that can occur, but we're gonna dive into it, exactly what happened.
Yeah, we're also gonna dive into a 4th of July national crime report from everything that went on this past weekend, then hit the Foolish Felons segment featuring a woman who hid cocaine in the worst possible place. I'll let you figure out where that might be. We're gonna jump into Lustful Lawbreakers, and that'll take us through a drive-through encounter that gets a couple arrested. We're also gonna cover the unthinkable arrest of nursing home employees in Oklahoma, and the wild story of why selling speckled trout in Louisiana can lead you into a lot of trouble.
It's a state delicacy.
Something I never knew. In addition to that, we also unpack the case of an Army vet shot over a Walmart parking dispute. That's made all the news. And of course, we'll have overtime after that. So let's get into it. I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And we got a lot of news to cover today. A lot of major stuff dropped in the last week or so since 4th of July.
Yeah, and it kind of covers the gamut here. Like, it's not a bunch of repetitive types of crime. It's like, it's all over the place.
It is. And I feel like, I feel almost lost because I don't have my 4th of July hat on anymore.
I know. You're just out there, just free skinning that head out there,
I think I should dress up as Uncle Sam every show.
You do
going
that.
forward. Hey, I would do it. I love it. Red, white, and blue. You can't beat those colors. But we'll get into today's podcast, and we're going to start off in Hamden, Ohio. And authorities have uncovered what officials are calling one of the most shocking cases of child neglect in the state's history. They rescued 16 children from really deplorable conditions inside of a dilapidated home. This is in rural Benton County. Ohio Attorney General Andy Wilson described the scene as pure evil and amongst the worst he has encountered in his long career, stating the children appeared almost like feral animals. Quote, "It was terrible. They almost look like feral animals." So there you go. I gave you the quote. Just horrible stuff. He said it was beyond comprehension when he was asked about the condition of the home. Investigators discovered the children on June 30th, 2026, while executing a search warrant in a Hamden, Ohio home for an unrelated matter. And officials said they had no prior indication that these 16 children were actually living inside the home. Now, the children, they ranged in age from about 18 months to 18 years old and believed to be from the same family, including a set of twins. They have reportedly been confined for much of the past 4 years to a single, roughly 12 by 12 foot room. The home was littered with human waste and trash, and it created just horrible living conditions for these children, worse than those of livestock, police said. Many of the children were nonverbal, unable to communicate effectively, and showed signs of neglect. Some could not even write their own names, and at least 7 required hospitalization, with 2 airlifted for critical care. The children were not enrolled in school, and the family had reportedly moved frequently across Ohio since 2008 to avoid creating medical or government records. Benton County Sheriff Ryan Kane and other officials emphasized the isolation that allowed the abuse to go undetected for years in rural Appalachian area. 4 adults have been charged with 16 counts each of second-degree felony child endangerment. They include 36-year-old Gary Siders Jr., 73-year-old Gary Siders Sr., 67-year-old Christina Siders, and 33-year-old Elizabeth Siders. Now, all four pleaded not guilty during the arraignment, and a judge set bond at $300,000 for each. So authorities describe the situation as an intra-family matter rather than human trafficking. The children are now in the temporary custody of the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services. And there's been kind of a side story developing, if you will, inside this story. And it centers around 33-year-old Elizabeth Siders, one of the four adults charged in the case. First being that she is the mother of all of these children. Authorities and court details describe her as the mother, and her attorney, Thomas Stoley, has confirmed that the 16 children are her biological kids with Gary Siders Jr. So she's married to Gary Siders Jr. He's identified as that father, and public records indicate they were married in West Virginia when she was just 15 years old, and he was 18 years old. This is around 2008. Some family accounts and reports suggest she was groomed and isolated starting even earlier, with claims of a pregnancy at age 13. So, the other two people in this case, Gary Siders, 73, and Christina Siders, 67, are the paternal grandparents in this intra-family situation. And all four adults, as I said, face multiple counts of second-degree felony child endangerment. And Elizabeth's court-appointed attorney, he met with her shortly after her arrest. He described her as concerned primarily about her children's well-being. Repeatedly asked questions like, can I see the kids, and are the kids okay? He portrayed her as lacking malice and suggested the case may involve long-term isolation rather than intentional evil on her part. Stoley noted that she did not appear to view herself as a victim. Now, the children, who were all nonverbal, showed severe neglect. As I said, 1.5 years old all the way up to 18. They were malnourished, confined to a small room with human waste for years. Elizabeth herself had no prior criminal history, unlike some other family members. And some family members in online reports alleged that she was actually groomed. And obviously, if she had a child at 13, that's kind of a major problem. Isolation from her own relatives, and possibly additional layers like incest or unreported pregnancies are rumored, but nothing substantiated on that. Like others, she pled not guilty in the case, and she's also held on a $300,000 bond.
So I think we're going to come to, I think this is going to have so many layers to it when this is all said and done that we probably can't even fathom how this came to be. But let's start with this. We know that this has been at least, a 20-year period, because some of the kids are 18, right? And we know that, according to what's been reported, is that she was 15 when she married an 18-year-old. And I want to go all the way back to that. I want to start right there. You have to have consent from a parent to be able to marry when there's an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old. And this is screaming to me an attempted cover up or a way to get out of some type of carnal knowledge, or if she was pregnant or something like that, out of some statutory type rape type thing, because I cannot understand how you would possibly marry off a 15-year-old to an 18-year-old, or why you would do that. I don't see the benefit. Right. I know.
Have you seen the family?
I have. But I also have seen pictures of the paternal grandfather before this, like prior to this. And he didn't always look like a total, inbred
Crazy
hillbilly.
person.
He looks like an inbred hillbilly is what he looks like. But this is the deal. They were moving multiple times to avoid detection. And if you're aware enough that you need to move multiple times so that there's no detection of the children and all of that, then you are also aware that what you were doing has some wrong element to it. So to claim that this was just, the way they were, I'm not buying. But I can tell you, there have been other cases historically that mirror this insofar as the mother goes here of all the children. And this is what I'm getting at. I remember there was a case I read about, I think he was German though, I can't remember exactly, but basically this man took this girl, hid her away, and had children with her over and over and over again. And she was not found for almost 20 years. And when they found her, they had been hidden underground for so long, like their skin had grown mold from the conditions that they were in. And she loved her children, but they were obviously in horrific conditions. Horrific. And so it makes you wonder, how the hell, if you love your children, could you ever let them live like this? Well, it's all, to me, going to go back. And again, this is all guessing, right? Because we don't know yet. This is kind of a breaking, unfolding case. But this all goes back to the fact that she may have had a child at 13 years old. If you think someone who's been having children since they were 13, 14, 15 years old is not suffering from some sort of arrested development in the next 20 years, I think that would be very short-sighted of people. This screams abuse of her to me. I don't see how you could start having children at 15 years old, have a child every year for the next,
13 years old,
yeah,
they're saying.
Yeah. But to have a child every year of your life, and obviously she's been removed from society, obviously, because this is happening. I know she's been arrested. I know that we can all look at her and say she ought to know better, but just from the little bit that I know right now, it's also giving a little bit of Andrea Yates to me. And what I mean is how her mental decline happened so fast that she ends up, drowning all of her children. And people are like, oh my God, why would a mother do that? Because they ignored the mental decline. And so I'm not sure what happened here, but I'm very interested in the mother, the biological mother of these children. Because if this is a victim that's been arrested, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
as a people.
I don't even know. This is going to be a
Netflix
case
documentary.
To cover, and there's not really enough out there to determine one way or the other. On its face, I look at something like this and these poor kids, and they're nonverbal, and they were living basically in feces and all these things. And, that side of me wants to say, screw the parents and screw the grandparents.
Yeah.
They allowed these kids to live in these conditions. It's apparent this mother apparently has been abused for a very long time. You don't have kids at 13 unless there's major problems. And
she was a kid growing up in it too, is how it looks to me.
And all these children nonverbal, just not enough for me to form an educated opinion. But there are a lot of very well respected podcasters online right now that are calling this 13-year-old a victim. And she may well be. I don't
she's not
know
13
enough
now,
about
but
it yet.
she was. Yeah, she was. Yeah, look, again, we don't know everything, but I'm very hard pressed to look at this woman, the mother, and say, you've been wrong all the way throughout it. Because, 13 years old, you're in 8th grade, 7th grade. I cannot fathom my own child, who is that same age, being a mother and then having kids every year from there on out until her arrest, basically, and then thinking that it's just been normal for her.
Yeah.
So whatever this is, I understand why they arrested her. She's an adult by age. I'd be very curious to see a psychological evaluation. Now, as for the grandparents, screw y'all. I'm done with them. I'm absolutely done. And did you see the update on the grandfather? That they gave him this massive bond and he went to jail, and then they've released him out to a medical facility because they say he's basically too sick to be in jail. Mm-hmm. That's that was an update I saw. So we'll see how it goes. And I hope those kids are getting fed, and taken care of and loved. So. All right, let's go to Ocean Springs, Mississippi. Now, this one's huge. This is all over the news. But a body believed to be that of 18-year-old Nolan Wells was found Monday morning on Horn Island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, bringing a somber end to a multi-agency search that began after the Ocean Springs resident vanished during a 4th of July boating trip with friends. So a park ranger discovered his body around 8:45 a.m. in the water just offshore on the northwest end of the popular Barrier Island, and that's according to the Jackson County Sheriff, John Ledbetter. The body matched Wells' description, and his family has since identified him. So Wells, who is a 6'1", 180-pound former high school football player and wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, was last seen around 3 p.m. on Saturday, July the 4th, on the west tip of Horn Island's north side. He was wearing blue swim trunks. Sometimes people will report him as black, but it was a darker pair of shorts, no shirt, and sunglasses. Friends who boated out with him returned without him, initially believing he had secured another ride back to the mainland. The search involved the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Coast Guard, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, the United Cajun Navy, tons of volunteers, all with efforts focused on both land and water around the island. Wells's mother, Christine Wansley, expressed heartbreak in a social media post describing her son as a special soul and requesting time for the family to grieve as authorities proceed with the coroner's examination. No official cause of death has been released at the time of this recording, and investigators have not indicated foul play. Horn Island, if you're unfamiliar with it, is part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, and it draws large crowds for holiday celebrations. The friends reportedly last saw Wells with a girl he met that day. They said her name was Katie, and some footage showed him walking with others around 4:30 p.m.
Yeah, and like you say, making big headlines right now. There's a lot of pieces to this case that are now occurring. I got to think a couple things here.
What you got?
First, I think that if there was obvious foul play, it would have been said by now. It had a tragic ending. They end up finding this young man's body. If they would have pulled him out of the water and he had a gunshot wound to the head, the police are going to come out and they're going to say this kid was killed.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not going to hide that fact. So that leads me to believe there was no obvious indications of foul play. But obviously you want a coroner to go over that and do an autopsy and make sure that there's nothing that's just not visible to the naked eye. The second thing is the family has retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Mm-hmm. This as of yesterday. And Ben Crump shows up when things like this happen and it involves white people and black people. We've discussed this before, Kelly, on this show, but I'm someone that doesn't relate a whole lot of things to race. I'm just not a racist person. And just because he was with 4 white guys doesn't make this a race thing. As a matter of fact, I see it as 5 people that were having fun together, and one of them just happens to be black.
Yeah, I think I see the same thing. I see a group of good-looking kids. All of them look, in photos that I've seen, they seem like good-looking kids, and they're just out having a good time.
They seem like they were having a good time, and from what these kids that we know have been telling police as of this point, he wanted to stay behind, and they left him behind because he wanted to stay behind. Apparently, he met a girl, as you said. It could be something as simple as he drowned.
Yeah.
And we just don't know yet. But I don't suspect by the police not releasing things that there's something beyond that. I think they're just covering their bases here and making sure everything's covered. So I don't understand retaining a civil rights lawyer in that case. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think that I think what frustrates me about that is that we have a young man that's lost that looks like he was a good athlete, a good person, just an absolute loss to the community. We've got a group of people who are going to be saddened that they've lost their friend. But to immediately jump and make this some type of race-centered issue is a tragedy in and of itself to me. I understand that people want to always assume that there's racism behind stuff. I get that, but I don't get it in the same, because I look at this like this poor kid. We've lost a poor kid, but now you bring in someone like Ben Crump and it just taints the loss to me, because now they're trying to make it a black versus white issue versus a young man who was alive and now he's dead issue. And it's escalated too, because I read yesterday, I don't know if you saw this or not, but one of the mothers of one of the white friends that was there is a judge. And so apparently she deleted her social media, and then people started attacking her saying, oh, your kid did something, blah, 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 blah. Well, she came out and she released a statement, and she said, I understand that because of my position as a judge that people are going to say what they want to say. But the only reason that I deleted my social media was because she said I have 6 children their faces. I do not want plastered all over the internet anymore because we are having serious safety concerns for all of our children. And she said, I apologize if that hurts anyone's feelings, but my role as mother comes first.
And you're paraphrasing this.
I'm absolutely paraphrasing it. I don't have it in front of me. But she did expand a little bit. And she said something and again, I'm going off my memory, so I may not be 100% on this, but if my memory serves me correct, she said that they were having a boating issue from the island that was going to go back to the mainland. And so the boys had kind of split up, and that he had decided to stay on the island, like maybe with that girl Katie or something. She never mentioned Katie, but I'm just going off of that report. And she said, so they just kind of split up. He decided he was going to stay back, and the boat that was having a boating issue, they were taking it to the mainland. But then they just didn't see him again, and nobody knew what happened to him. And then they found him in the water, assuming that the Coast Guard or whatever, drowned. And so what's happening here is what happens all the time. People make assumptions about things they know nothing about other than the fact black kid, white kids, and then they want to separate it. And everybody needs to calm down. Let's get the facts and then not be pointing fingers at people who might actually be just grieving.
Well, and let me tell you, if it was a race issue, he never would have been with them to begin with.
Yeah, I wouldn't
think so. To begin with, if you're racist against white people, for example, you're not going to have a bunch of white people with you. And if you're racist against black people, you're not going to have a black person with you. That's just the facts. They were all there having a good time. They're football players. I've said this before. I was a football player for a long time. I played with a lot of black guys, and I never looked at them as black guys. They were just my teammates.
That's your lineman. That's your tight end.
And that's exactly how these kids were looking at this gentleman, I would suspect. So we're going to find out more about this. But there you have it.
Yeah. And look, whenever they come out with the results, I would assume that, and again, it's assumption, but they're going to pull toxicology and all of that too. It was the 4th of July. There could have been drinking. You know, people jump in the water and tragedies happen. So I'm not saying that's what happened here, but there's a million other explanations other than a racist killing, which is being, implied.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't seem like that adds up here.
Prayers, though, to this kid's family. Regardless of what did happen, they lost a child, and it looks like he was a good guy, and it's a big loss.
Big loss. All right, let's go into one of my favorite segments, and that is elderly outlaws. I love talking about these elderly people just wilding out, and boy, did they have one do that in Louisiana this past week. As a matter of fact,
to us.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana woman is facing multiple felony charges after a Baton Rouge police officer says she filed a revolver on I-110 grazing a driver's head this past Sunday. So the day after 4th of July, Leila Habib, who is 63, was booked with one count of attempted second-degree murder, one count of aggravated criminal damage to property, one count of simple criminal damage to property, and one count of illegal use of a weapon. According to police, she was involved in a vehicle crash. This was on North Interstate 10, leaving her black Nissan Versa partially parked on the shoulder and partially blocking the right lane. Detectives said Habib then exited the vehicle and moved on foot between lanes, preventing traffic from passing. At that point, a driver in a gray Chevrolet Silverado said Habib blocked his lane with her body, drew a black-handled chrome revolver, and fired a shot into the air. As the driver attempted to leave, he said Habib positioned herself in front of his truck, and the driver said he had to drive away out of fear, and his truck made contact with Habib, causing her to fall onto the hood. Habib then pointed the gun at the driver and fired, sending a bullet through the windshield that grazed his head. In an attempt to flee, the driver said he accelerated and turned right, striking a retaining wall before crashing into the rear of Habib's vehicle. So this guy just totally panicked.
Yeah.
His truck came to a rest in the center lane. Then a second driver told police he was traveling northbound on I-110 when he saw Habib moving erratically and trying to stop vehicles. As he approached, Habib began banging on the driver's side door, then moved to the front of his vehicle and struck it. Habib then climbed into the bed of his truck. The second driver said he saw Habib fire a shot in the air while inside the truck bed. As he drove toward an exit with Habib in the truck bed, y'all, Habib struck the rear window of the truck with the firearm, causing minor damage. The driver exited the interstate where Habib got out of the truck bed and fired yet another shot. Baton Rouge police officers at a church basically she, at this point, was at a church. They took her into custody. She was found in possession of a .357 Magnum and 33 live .357 rounds. Now, just telling you this story doesn't really do it all the justice, because you've got to see the picture of this elderly outlaw. Patreon supporters, you're seeing that now. She legit looks like Aunt B from the Andy Griffith Show.
She does.
I mean, it is grandma gone wild, y'all. And so you got to check that out. But unbelievable incident here in Baton Rouge, and a great example of an elderly outlaw if I ever have.
And look, I was looking it up online just because, I was seeing what was on here. And it also says, an update according to WFB, this ain't her first rodeo. I'm sure we're not shocked by that. But the detectives have also said that Habib was identified as the suspect in a carjacking of a Nissan Versa in New Orleans.
Wow.
So this granny has been
That's crazy looking at this lady, y'all.
Oh, my God. Yeah, she looks like the lunch
And she looks a
lady.
lot older than 63. She looks 83.
Maybe there's been some
picture.
drogas or
she
something.
Lived a life, I can tell you that.
She's been doing something, but
just jumping in truck beds, man. Firing shots in the air. Could you imagine seeing that? Talk about going viral with a cell phone.
No, and then to think that someone stopped to kind of try to help her. And she jumps in the car and starts shooting.
Jumps in the truck bed.
Oh,
and then bangs on his back window. And
God.
Crazy.
Somebody restrain her. All right, let's go to Gilbert, Arizona. And this story is like worst nightmare combined into an even worser nightmare. Have you seen that video before where she says things went from worse to worser?
No.
It was viral, but anyway. Okay. In a remarkable and disturbing medical miracle, an 18-month-old Arizona toddler was discovered breathing inside a hospital morgue more than 5 hours after a doctor had declared him dead following a near-drowning incident. The child, identified in police reports as Vincent Lorenzo Fiordellino, was rushed to Mercy Gilbert Medical Center on February the 8th after being found face down in his family's backyard swimming pool during a Super Bowl gathering. According to a police report, the toddler arrived at the hospital in critical condition. Dr. Arian Tusi, and he was the physician, pronounced the boy dead at approximately 6:20 p.m. despite reports from nurses and officers on scene of possible gasps, movement, and a detectable pulse. That's going to make you go, huh? Right. When the doctor is disagreeing. Okay. Yeah. Well, one officer documented a tense exchange in which concerns about vital signs were raised, but the doctor reportedly responded arrogantly, emphasizing his medical credentials. The child was subsequently moved to the hospital's morgue, a cold room maintained at 36 to 39 degrees, and that was around 7:23 p.m. Hours later, at approximately 11:52 p.m., staff from the medical examiner's office arrived to collect the body and found the toddler was breathing. He immediately was airlifted to Phoenix Children's Hospital for emergency treatment. Vincent survived the ordeal and has been described by family as a miracle baby. Reports indicate he sustained minor brain bruising, but has avoided severe long-term damage so far. He continues to require ventilator support and ongoing therapy. The incident has prompted multiple investigations, and police have recommended felony child abuse charges against the parents related to alleged marijuana use on the day of the incident, though the county attorney's office is still reviewing the case. Questions around the hospital's handling of the pronouncement of death and protocols for confirming vital signs has kind of been brought into question here. And Dr. Tusi's license and practices are under scrutiny, with records confirming his affiliation with Chandler Regional Medical Center.
Absolutely unbelievable story to me. And how the hell do you make that mistake? Can you imagine being a parent and you're told this toddler has deceased, is dead, and oh, my bad, they're not. I mean, yes, you're relieved and oh, this is wonderful, but the swing of emotions there, You can't make that mistake.
No,
I mean, and this did not happen in some third world country, y'all. This is Arizona.
Yeah, and here's the crazy part. I saw another article too, where the nurses were kind of speaking out because they were like, he's gasping, we've got a pulse. And that doctor allegedly turned around and snapped at them and said, you might want to go look at the paperwork on the wall, see who's got the medical degree. It's me, not you.
Well, doesn't he look like an asshole?
He does. And so I spoke to a family member of mine who's a doctor, and we were talking about it. And she told me a couple of things that I thought were kind of interesting. Children do have a better chance of survival in drownings. And she said that like the body temp of a child has to go below a certain degree, which is less than an adult in the hospital before they'll even declare them. And it's for this very reason, because children's brains, if they stayed cold, if the water was very cold and they stay cold, they are known to be able to bounce back because it puts their brain almost in like a hibernation state where they don't need as much oxygen. Now, I'm not saying damage isn't done, but they're known for this to be the case. Mm-hmm. And I asked her, I said, well, have you ever seen that in real life? She said, not with a child, but she said, we pronounced one time in the emergency room a death, and then the family came in to, before they removed him, and then they came out a little while later and said they'd like a cup of water, and they said, oh, absolutely, we'll get you one. And the lady said, no, not for me, for him. And they go back in the room, and the guy is up and talking. Yeah. So he did eventually pass away later, but that crazy stories have happened.
Yeah, but that's
you can't
just sheer negligence.
Ego like that.
Child was never deceased.
Yeah.
It wasn't like in your situation, maybe they lost a pulse and they couldn't get a pulse, and they just assumed. In this case, people are telling the guy.
Yeah.
No.
And he was
child's
saying,
not dead.
He was saying it was agonal breathing, which, if you don't know, agonal breathing is that dying gasp that people will do. But you're a damn doctor. Like, you better make sure somebody's dead before you pronounce them.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Look, we just wrapped up 4th of July, and I wish I could say that it was just a normal crime weekend. But, of course, with major holidays in the United States, usually you're going to see an uptick in crime, and I like to cover those as those crime reports come out. So I've got an interesting little notable crime report from July 4th of 2026. And I'm going to tell you about Chicago, Illinois. They had multiple incidents over the weekend, 4th of July weekend. At least 21 shot, 2 to 3 killed. With reports of up to 3 more additional stabbings, and that included a mass shooting as well as incidents involving police officers. Chicago saw ongoing violence, though some reports call it one of the least violent recent July 4th weekends, because believe it or not, 21 shot in Chicago is like a typical weekend for them.
Insane.
Yeah, as crazy as that sounds. New York City, how about that? Well, Brooklyn, Coney Island, and other boroughs of New York City, they had 12 shot across incidents, including a mass shooting at a family barbecue in Coney Island where 4 children were among the wounded, and at least 8 wounded in that one event, including 4 children. So 8 people in that one barbecue in Coney Island. In Boston, Massachusetts, they had 13 shot with 2 killed and 11 injured in multiple shootings overnight after festivities. In Pensacola, Florida, I don't know if y'all have seen this, but they had a teen takeover, and we've covered that before. Stupidity there. 19-year-old was killed and 6 others injured after a shooting during a large gathering of hundreds of teens in downtown Pensacola, Florida, after July 4th celebrations. I've been there many times. This is not the type of place you would expect that to happen. In Hilton Head, South Carolina, beautiful part of South Carolina, 7 injured in a beach shooting, 4 people arrested. No fatalities, fortunately, were reported. But the most surprising came from Newport Beach, California. So if you're not familiar with Newport Beach, California, it's part of the OC, Orange County, rich people. As a matter of fact, Newport Beach is California is a primarily Democratic state, as everybody knows, but Newport Beach is primarily Republican. It's like 70% Republican in Newport Beach. Well, 4th of July celebrations in that Orange County city turned chaotic on 4th of July, resulting in a mind-blowing, get this, 402 arrests as large crowds of mostly juveniles, teen takeover, and young adults engaged in fights, fireworks, launches, and looting. Newport Beach police report the unrest centered around the Balboa Peninsula, where a large gathering reportedly organized and hyped on TikTok drew unruly crowds. Around 8:25 p.m., officers declared an unlawful assembly after reports of gunfire, fireworks thrown into crowds at police, and blocked roadways, as well as fights. Video footage from the scene, and you got to check this out wherever you Google things, just Google it. It's insane. It shows hundreds of people in parking lots, in the streets, with some fist fighting while others were setting off fireworks and vandalizing property. A grocery store was looted and significant debris was left behind. One local resident told reporters it was a madhouse. Multiple officers were injured, including one struck by a mortar-style firework. All are expected to recover. 17 law enforcement agencies had to assist in the response, and roughly half of the arrests occurred in just one incident where individuals just flat out refused to disperse. A bunch of these young punks. Authorities noted many of the arrests were young people from out of state. Imagine that. City officials described the event as a significant escalation from prior years, with arrests jumping from about 60 the previous July 4th. So you go from 60 to over 400. Mayor Lori Kleinman called the incidents disappointing for local families in this typically upscale community, and officials are reviewing security measures for future events, and obviously attributing most of this to social media driven crowds. So that's your report of the July 4th chaos.
Just doing some like quick addition, because I know you'd given some injured, some not, but that's at least 64 people shot.
Yeah, in just them 5 areas
that weekend. But something about these teen takeovers that people, I think, need to think about, young people, is that when the crowds are that big, it's drawing all of your emergency responders over there to break that up. And you are, not that they care, because they're doing idiotic, they don't care. But what's happening here now is all the it's increasing response time with other serious events are happening where lives may be being impacted. You know, you draw.
But even if these teen takeovers, lives are being impacted. A kid was killed in Pensacola.
Right. But I'm just like we don't have the resources for this type of bullshit to be going on. And I don't know if the laws are going to have to get involved here. And, you know, if you promote something like this that gets out of hand and all this kind of stuff, that you might have to be held accountable in some way for like incitement or something. I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head here. But that cannot happen, because you're putting a community at risk that they just live there, you know, and you're infiltrating where they live and taking over. That's sick. And
if you lived in that community, look, this is not a community that's used to that. This is a very nice area of California, and they're probably like, if you lived in that community and that happened, I'm sure you woke up the next day and you were like, okay, this can never happen again. And we're going to do whatever we have to do. As a matter of fact, the Orange County, the Newport Beach police have said they're going to stop doing 4th of July celebrations. I don't know if you need to take it that far, because to me, then you're letting them win. But you certainly need to rethink your security measures. Unfortunately, it's ridiculous. I don't know the answer.
It's going to make the public events. Well, I get why they say it, though, because if they do a public event and it's got to be mitigated for the crowd control, then that's going to be the responsibility of the city, and they don't have the manpower to do it. So then if you want to have a private event, that's going to be a problem, too, because now someone who wants to put together, I don't know, like maybe for their work or something, bring all your work family and we'll do fireworks. They're going to change the rules where if it's a crowd of bigger than, 100 or something, then maybe you're responsible to get a permit. It's going to make it where nobody can do it because somehow they have to be able to control it. And that's sad, because none of these numbnuts are from there.
Not right.
So they need to go home. All right, let's go to Florida. And this is going to be our Foolish Felons segment.
All right.
So foolish. All right. A Florida woman who denied ownership of the bag of cocaine that fell from her buttocks while being booked into custody told jailers that the drug must have been placed there during an intimate encounter with an unnamed partner. Jim, I don't know that.
That's a hell of an excuse.
It is. Now, her name is even more comical to me because according to an arrest report, a car being driven by Reagan Cox, so Cox had the coke up her buttocks.
So immature.
I am so immature, but I mean, you're begging for it on this one. Was spotted veering across Brevard County highway around 6:40 a.m. this past Saturday. Upon being pulled over, Cox refused to exit her Nissan Altima, which smelled of burnt marijuana. Cox, who cops say was slow and lethargic, was pulled from the vehicle after she refused to remove her seatbelt and tried to lock the car. Cox then tried to walk away as a deputy attempted to search her. Cox is arrested for resisting deputies, a misdemeanor, and transported to the local jail, a brief drive from her residence in Rockledge, a city on Florida's Space Coast. Now, during the jail intake process, Cox had to pass through an X-ray scanner, which is used to spot things like, weapons, phones, drugs, any type of contraband. Look, according to investigators, when jailers detected an anomaly in Cox's lower region, she was brought to a room where she was subsequently seen trying to cover her buttocks area with her hand. Upon moving her hand, a baggie containing 3.8 grams of cocaine fell from her butt. With the coke at her feet, cops say Cox denied knowing anything about the drug. She speculated that someone must have placed the narcotics inside her butt during a sexual encounter.
Oh.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
That explanation, as it were, did not stop police from charging Cox with a second crime, including introducing contraband into a correctional facility, which is a felony. She eventually was released from custody after posting a $3,000 bond. Now, in 2021, she was also arrested for DUI after a cop pulled her over in her speeding sedan and detected several indicators of intoxication. Her blood alcohol level was measured at nearly twice the state limit. She did plead guilty to a misdemeanor charge. She was sentenced to 6 months of probation, fined $1,100, and ordered to perform 20 hours of community service.
I mean, I can only imagine the officer when he said, "Why was that in your butt?" And she gave him that response.
Because it wouldn't go in my vagina,
It's
I
kind of
guess,
like,
is all she had to say.
I mean, it's just a really unexpected response to a question like that. And you hide them everywhere, huh? And right up the butt with some cocaine. And
I mean, I know people plug it, but like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to jail. Why plug your drugs in your butt?
People hide them everywhere, I guess. Most people swallow those, but not her.
I've just never really thought of my butt crack as the ideal place to hide anything.
Yeah.
It's never been my choice.
Same. But anyway.
We have that in common, Jim.
After spending hours diving into these crazy cases, the last thing I want is to lie there staring at the ceiling because the sheets feel rough or I'm sweating all night. That's just a few of the reasons I love Cozy Earth. They make the softest, most luxurious bamboo bedding and loungewear I have ever owned. Their sheets are temperature regulating, ultra breathable, and actually get softer with every wash. The pajama sets and robes make me feel like I am in total vacation mode while still at home. I love Cozy Earth so much, in fact, that I worked out a deal with them. Right now, as a special offer for my listeners, you can unlock an exclusive 30% discount on anything you buy using the code EXPOSED at checkout when you visit CozyEarth.com. And here's the peace of mind. Their bedding is backed by a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, so you can try it completely risk-free. Stop settling for restless nights. Head to CozyEarth.com, use my code EXPOSED at checkout, and treat yourself to the best sleep you've had in years. Your bed will thank you. That's CozyEarth.com and use the code EXPOSED at checkout for 30% off. Let's go to Lustful Lawbreakers. A young Kentucky couple has found themselves in handcuffs after having, well, they were in their car and they were having fun right outside a Hardee's restaurant. This was in full view of the morning drive-through customers. And Brittany Pennington, who is 24, and Jonathan Howard, also 24, were then arrested and charged with indecent exposure following the incident outside of a Harlan, Kentucky Hardee's, about 20 miles from the Tennessee border. According to police, multiple customers were waiting in the drive-thru and they witnessed the pair having sex inside their 1994 Ford Crown Victoria. And I can't think of a better car to do that in.
They have good shocks.
I mean, good shocks, and they're big, the Crown Vics were what the police used to drive back in the day. That was parked adjacent to the ordering line. The public display reportedly occurred during the busy breakfast rush when the couple appeared to enjoy the audience. So they were kind of into it. An officer was called to the scene after a witness reported the encounter. And when confronted, Pennington and Howard, they admitted to the act, telling the police they had made a mistake. The misdemeanor charge stems from the customer exposing their genitals in a public place where they knew it was likely to cause affront or alarm.
Not affront.
Affront or alarm. That's how it's written. Both were booked into the Harlan County Detention Center on a $2,000 cash bond each, and no word yet on whether the couple will seek a plea deal or if they'll be craving a different kind of spicy burger behind bars. But of course, I'm going to keep you updated, and that is Lustful Lawbreakers.
It would really suck if in 9 months she had a baby, because her kids
know right where she conceived it. Yeah.
You were conceived in the Crown Vic at the Hardee's, baby.
Well, there's something very interesting about Kentucky. They're very loose, if you will, on their laws as it relates to exposure. And the reason that I know that was I just watched that Netflix documentary about the horrible
neighbors.
neighbor.
I did too.
Neighbor. And did you hear the police officer say that it is not illegal to have your shirt off? If you're a female, you can have your shirt off with your boobs flying everywhere in your front yard, and that is legal.
That's absurd.
That is legal. There's no law saying you can't do that.
That's crazy.
I mean, that being said, I'm moving to Kentucky next week. I forgot to tell you, Kelly. I'm gonna be recording remotely from now on. I'm going somewhere where you got to be free, got to be me. Yeah,
but
boobs flying everywhere.
That was a set you didn't want to see on that show, though. I don't think that was one you wanted to. She might trip over herself.
I think we need to relook at the Louisiana laws on wearing shirts in public.
Well, Mardi Gras, people kind of do their own thing anyway.
Yeah, that's true. But, I mean, you can't just mow your front yard with your boobies hanging out.
I know. And there were children out, too, at that time. So that was just gross. That was perverted.
If you're in Kentucky, you're a realtor, give me a call. Realtors.
He's looking for his summer home.
Sit out on my porch and just watch boobies swing all day long. Look, the hater's going to come out and, hey, Jamie's so perverted.
He's a man. He can't help it.
That's right.
He likes the boobies.
Right.
All right. Let's go to Oklahoma.
All right.
In a case that highlights severe failures in elder care, 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 former employees at Golden Age Nursing Home in Guthrie, Oklahoma, have been sentenced to prison after pleading guilty to elder abuse charges. Authorities say the women mocked vulnerable residents, both living and deceased, tortured their bodies, and shared disturbing lewd photos via Snapchat. It was also videos via Snapchat. Mackenzie Balfa, 22, Aubrey Granada, 23, and Jade Williams, 23, were arrested following an investigation triggered by a tip from a former employee. Court documents and police affidavits detail a pattern of dehumanizing behavior that included filming and sharing explicit and degrading content of elderly patients. One particularly disturbing video showed Bolfa twisting a female resident's pubic hair while the woman lay exposed and motionless from the waist down. That makes me so angry. I feel a burning in my stomach.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Williams recorded the act as Granada laughed in the background. Additional videos captured residents using the bathroom with close-ups of genitals and exposed breasts. Photos also showed the workers mocking residents, including one where Bolfa posed next to a deceased patient, mimicking the woman's open mouth expression. Guthrie Police Chief Don Swegger described the findings as amongst the most disturbing in his career, noting that images of deceased persons were among the inappropriate content discovered on the employee's phone. Some employees were involved in sending some inappropriate pictures of the patients. We found pictures of some deceased people, he told local media. The abuse came to light in April of 2024 when a whistleblower reportedly received a Snapchat video of the incident. Police obtained search warrants for the women's devices, uncovering a trove of evidence. Oh my goodness, I can't even speak. Evidence. All three pled guilty to elder abuse charges and were recently sentenced to prison terms. Golden Age Nursing Home has faced scrutiny following the revelations. The facility cooperated with investigators, but the case has raised broader questions about oversight, staffing, and protections for vulnerable seniors in long-term care facilities. Elder abuse advocates have called for stronger regulations and mandatory training on dignity and ethics in caregiving.
Just horrible.
That should be...
I mean, there is... I don't have any comments except for when you abuse the elderly like that, especially when you're in a position of trust like that. I don't think there's a punishment even fitting, short of spend the rest of your life in jail.
Let me tell you something.
That's disgusting.
If you need training on dignity and ethics to take care of an elderly person, you shouldn't have the job. I get the red tape of going through trainings, but that's intrinsic. That you should know that you don't treat your elders that way. And I think that sex offense charges should have been added to that. I really do. How dare you grab a woman's pubic hair and pull it and injure her when she has no way to defend herself or help herself?
Yeah. And
it's a hate crime, too.
These are young looking kids. And I'm going to tell you something else. What they don't realize at the age they're at now is one day they're going to be elderly.
Yep.
And what comes around goes around.
It does. I
believe that. I believe in karma. And you just create a whole lot of bad karma if you're lucky enough to make it to that age. That's all I got to say.
For shame, my grandma would always say that, but for shame, because I think about my own grandma and my own family members that have been in nursing homes, and they truly depend on these people for the most basic necessities of care. Changing a diaper, helping someone shower, and to be exploited like that is one of the most disgusting things that you can possibly do.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to lighten it up.
Okay.
We're going to go to Slidell, Louisiana, and I'm going to tell you about a 22-year-old local resident who learned the hard way that in Louisiana, turning your recreational catch into a side hustle can land you in serious hot water with wildlife agents. So Markeegan Gray is facing citations and financial penalties after the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries agents caught him allegedly selling plates of fried speckled trout that he had caught himself in Lake Pontchartrain. The plates were going for $15 each, and he advertised them on Facebook. Agents received a complaint about someone selling fried fish plates out of a home in Slidell. They followed up and discovered the social media post promoting those meals. And during the investigation, Gray reportedly admitted to catching the speckled trout recreationally about 2 weeks earlier and then preparing and selling them. Authorities seized more than 100 speck fillets, 104 to be exact. Rather than letting the fish go to waste, officials donated the fillets to a local charity. Speckled trout are iconic Louisiana fish, and they're wonderful, y'all. They're the whitest fish you'll ever eat. Beloved by anglers across the coast and parishes like Terrebonne and around Grand Isle. But Louisiana law is crystal clear. A recreational fishing license does not allow you to sell your catch. To legally sell seafood in the state of Louisiana, you have to have proper commercial licenses and permits, and selling recreational caught fish is illegal, even if it's just a few neighborhood plates or a small Facebook hustle. Gray faces criminal fines ranging from $400 to $950, up to 120 days in jail, and $1,625 in civil restitution for the illegally sold speckled trout. Now, even the casual backyard or home-based fish fry can cross the line into illegal commercial activity if money is changed hands without the right paperwork. And the case obviously serves as a reminder to anglers and food lovers that catching speckled trout for your own dinner table is fine, but turning that fresh catch into a for-sale business without commercial permits can become expensive fast.
All right, so speckled trout limit is 15 per day. So if he had fished every day for 7 days, that would mean he could have 105. So that means he was below the limit. Mm-hmm. And they got it.
The limit's not the issue. I'm not saying he caught too many.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is clearly someone just had a grudge against this guy that they tipped that off, because what else was on the plate of fried fish? Were there beans? Was there mashed potatoes and all of that? Because maybe he was, if I was a defense attorney, he was actually just selling the green beans and the mashed potatoes and the fish.
Apparently when he promoted on Facebook, he said fried fish plates.
Yeah.
But here's the question. Okay, first of all, I didn't even realize that was illegal to do. But here's the question. I can't tell you the amount of political campaigns that I bought fish plates from. Mm-hmm. Paid $15 for a fish plate. It goes to a campaign of many different political people. That's primarily how they raise money in this area. Mm-hmm. How's that not illegal? They're selling fish plates.
Look.
How is that not illegal?
I don't know. I don't know if they have someone who's got a commercial license and that's who they're using as doing business as. I don't know.
It could be that, or another thought I had was, well, maybe they're saying you're donating to the campaign and we're giving you the fish plate. We're not actually selling you the fish plate.
Yeah, but you know what? Then we're getting into just like semantics and a pissing contest of who can word the law better. I am all about wildlife and fisheries. I'm all about enforcing and all that kind of stuff. This one, I'm going to shoot you straight. This one bothers me. It's not like he was out robbing and stealing people. He filleted the fish. He was under the limit if he had fished all week. And he fried it up and he's just trying to make, and I know that someone right now can go, yeah, but if everybody did that, you're right. Okay, I got you. But, a citation here or a warning, I think, would have sufficed. But now we got a 22-year-old just trying to make a little bit of money, and he's going to be fined.
And I guarantee he didn't know.
He didn't know.
And he wouldn't have put it on Facebook if he knew.
No. And I've seen people that are selling, all sorts of crap online. I don't know. I don't like that. I feel like that's a vendetta that someone was acting out and they won, because that's, come on.
And how much is it to get a commercial fishing license? What is it, $100?
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, I don't know, but it really is. We got better things to do, Louisiana wildlife and fisheries. Yeah. And I understand you're trying to control the population. So what you don't want is everybody using that as a side hustle, and there's no speckled trout anymore for anybody because of it.
Exactly. But he wasn't doing that as a full-time job. I mean, it looks like he was just doing it because he had 100 fillets. Like,
look, I have a friend who would limit out every weekend, and
daddy.
He would bring me back Ziploc bags full of specks on his way home every weekend that I worked with years ago. Yeah. Good fish.
Yeah, my daddy always limited out too.
They can catch them.
So that's why I think this isn't.
Because it's 15 per person also.
Yeah.
So if you have 4 people on the boat, that you can actually catch, 60 trout.
Looking back on it,
you're at the limit.
Looking back on it, I bet you that's why my dad brought me fishing. It wasn't just spend time with me; it's so he could put more fish in the boat.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm just kidding. He loves me. Love you, Daddy. All right. Let's go to North Lauderdale, Florida. North Lauderdale? I've heard of Fort Lauderdale.
Well, have you heard of every place in Florida?
No.
Okay. Well, maybe it's North Lauderdale.
That's crazy. I should know everything, Jim. Okay. A decorated U.S. Army veteran and former trauma nurse was fatally shot in a Walmart parking lot following a heated argument over a parking space. Now, I'm not going to lie. His last name is difficult. Bart Diguglielmo. Oh, Jim's showing me right now. North Lauderdale is, in fact, a place. They have their Fern Forest Center. Y'all.
It is a city in Florida, y'all.
Breaking news. I don't know everything.
I've heard it. Fort Lauderdale.
I haven't never heard of North Lauderdale. I'm sorry. Okay. So back to this. His last name is hard to say. I think it's Diguglielmo, but Bart D, 62, of North Jersey, died after suffering a gunshot wound to the stomach during the confrontation outside of a Walmart supercenter in North Lauderdale last Tuesday afternoon, according to the Broward Sheriff's Office. Deputies responded to reports of a shooting around 12:30 p.m. and found Mr. Bart suffering from the gunshot wound. He was transported to Broward Health Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. Investigators say the incident began as a verbal altercation between Mr. Bart and an unidentified woman over a parking spot. Video footage from the scene referenced by authorities and witnesses reportedly shows the woman exiting her vehicle with a firearm, repeatedly warning Mr. Bart to back off as he continued to approach aggressively. She fired a single shot when he advanced further. The woman cooperated with investigators at the scene and has not been arrested. The case has been forwarded to the Broward State Attorney's Office for review, with Florida's stand your ground law likely to be a key factor in determining whether charges are filed. Family members identified Mr. Bart as a retired Army Staff Sergeant. He was also a former trauma nurse, according to relatives. He had recently reconnected with his family in the area. Have you watched the video?
I have watched the video.
What'd you think?
Have you watched the video?
I watched a very, very short snippet of it, so I haven't seen the entire encounter.
Okay.
And that's what I'd like to see.
Well, I can tell you this, and this may surprise some people. I don't think this woman did anything wrong.
I believe you.
And I don't think the police think she did anything wrong. I think that she was standing her ground. And I think this guy just lost his head. I'm sure he was a great guy.
Yeah.
But you can see in the video that I watched, I see the guy approach her. She's got a gun. Okay. She pulls a gun. And look, keep in mind, folks, this is a woman and a man.
Yeah.
And a big man and a military man. Right. And so she's likely very scared. She pulls this gun, tells him to get back. He walks away, then walks back toward her, then continues to walk toward her, walks away, and does it again. Okay, so you pull a gun, you say, get away from me, get away. You're yelling at me for a parking spot, and this guy refuses to get away. As a matter of fact, he continues to approach you. Florida has a very strong stand your ground law. You are not required to retreat. And if someone keeps approaching you and you are in fear of your life, and this is a woman and a man, I could legit think this lady might have been in fear of her life. And so I didn't see anything to sway my opinion on that. Now, there's no volume on that video. That would have helped. But we don't have that. But as of this point, apparently the police feel the same way because they haven't arrested her and they've seen the same video.
Well, the fact that he retreated, again, first of all, tragedy that he's dead. Okay. No doubt. Total tragedy. But the fact that he retreated, according to what you saw, 3 times and then kept coming back, that's going to be his problem. And so
over a parking spot.
Yeah, I know. I know that I've been triggered over stupid stuff like this myself. So I'm not saying that, that he's just completely, insane or anything. I think that he just called her bluff and he was wrong. I think that's what happened. He called her bluff. He didn't think she would actually do it. So he kept getting closer to her and she pulled the trigger, and it's probably going to end up being just a tragedy. I have not watched the entire video to be clear, but that's what I saw was her pointing it and then him walking towards her. I only saw the one time. Again, that sways things, right? But either way, if someone points a gun at you, you should retreat. Don't be a hero type thing. And I think he called her bluff and he lost.
Yeah. I mean, look, people lose their head when they get pissed. And he was pissed off probably because she pulled the gun. That's a good time to just say, you know what, I want to live to fight another day. And tragic situation all around. Feel horrible for his family and all of that. Just tragic. But I didn't see anything that would make me say this was a legal act.
How long was the video? I'm just curious. The interaction.
Might have been 20 seconds, something like that. It wasn't super long.
That's quick to decide to shoot somebody, but
when they're coming at you,
that's what I'm saying. But then again, when someone's coming at you, I get it.
You don't wait till they can grab the gun.
I know.
And that in this lady's mind, if I'm putting myself in her place, I don't want him to where he can take the gun from me.
Absolutely.
And he was pretty damn close that third time.
Again, I haven't seen the video. I saw, like I said, just the one snippet. This is just my opinion. But we'll, that's one of those things, guys. When a gun is involved, I don't think anyone ever thinks that someone's going to actually pull that trigger. And if they're willing to pull it on you, they're willing to pull the trigger. Don't forget that.
Yeah. All right, Kelly, let's go into overtime.
Let's do it.
All right, and we're going to start out with another segment of They Stole What?
What? They stole what?
Nope. You still can't get that one right, man. What did they steal, Jim?
What did they steal,
That's
Jim?
what you say. All right, well, we're going to talk about them stealing a $1.95 cookie.
I love cookies. I'm here for it.
So what's this about? Ford Motor Company has found itself in the middle of a viral PR nightmare after firing a longtime high-earning employee over an alleged stolen chocolate chip cookie, only to discover later that the dude had actually paid for it. So his name's Kurt Crom. He's a 60-year-old electrician. He has 11 years at Ford's Kentucky truck plant in Louisville. And he was let go after supervisors accused him of stealing a $1.95 Grandma's chocolate chip cookie from an Airmax self-checkout kiosk. The plant builds popular models like the Super Duty, Expedition, Lincoln Navigator, those sorts of vehicles. Now, the incident occurred around 3:30 a.m. during a 12-hour overnight shift. Crom, who was a diabetic whose blood sugar had dropped, he had went to grab a quick snack. He swipes his debit card at the kiosk, but the machine flashed a red error screen indicating a payment fail. He then moved to another kiosk to complete the purchase. After a week passed, on May 16th, two supervisors called him into the labor office and they showed him surveillance video of that first failed attempt, and they fired him for theft right there on the spot. He was escorted out by security and told to leave his personal tools behind. He said, "I earned over $200,000 last year. Why would I steal a $2 cookie? I spent $1,200 in the canteen over that past year, mainly on Diet Cokes." Crom even provided bank statements showing the $1.95 transaction had gone through. On June 12th, Airmax, the kiosk operator, confirmed that payment. Ford eventually offered to reinstate him with back pay, but by then Crom had already taken another job back in his hometown in Wisconsin, and he declined the offer, citing a lack of support and no formal apology, and I don't blame him.
I don't either.
Crom said the ordeal was deeply distressing. He had to clear out his Louisville rental, move back home, and later return to retrieve thousands of dollars worth of tools. His wife Karen expressed sadness over lack of union support and the damage to their life in Louisville. Fellow workers said that kiosks notoriously glitch at that facility, and so it's likely that's what happened. One longtime electrician who had been terminated as well over a $2 drink a couple years prior. A Ford spokesman acknowledged the situation may not have been handled properly, stating, "There are times when we look into things and realize it could have been handled differently. We value our employees and want to be as fair as possible." But the story has absolutely went viral with online outrage, with many calling it a massive failure of corporate culture and common sense.
Yeah,
and I couldn't agree more.
I could not agree more. And I'm not a sue person. I don't jump on the sue bandwagon. But in this instance, because of all that you were put out, having to pack up your rental, move, then the humiliation, and you've done nothing wrong. Shame on Ford for that one. I hope they have to cut you a nice check. I think they should give you the back pay anyway.
And the nail to the head here is corporate culture and common sense.
Yep.
So with these corporate entities, these major public multi-billion-dollar companies, sometimes they don't use their common sense. And when a guy's showing you his freaking bank statement and saying, "Here's the cookie, here's the date, and here's the cookie, I was charged for it," and you're saying I stole it, at that point it should have been a wrap. You should have said, "You know what, dude, you're right, we made a mistake." But someone in human resources, they got that ego trip about them, and they said, "Oh, no, we got surveillance video. You can pay for that."
Or here's an idea. Dock him.
A freaking $1.95 cookie.
Dock him the $2 for the cookie, notify him pending an investigation, and then when he brought you the bank statement, credit him back the $2. Like, if you wanted to get real technical with it, you're going to take a man's livelihood, his insurance, cost him all of that over a freaking cookie. And how many years had he dedicated to that company?
11 years he'd been
11
there.
years.
And made $200,000 a year.
11 years.
Steal a cookie.
Shame on you, Ford. You're bad on that one.
Well, that was this week's edition of They Stole What?
What did they steal? A cookie.
Well, you only said that at the beginning.
But then I answered it. All right, let's go to Florida again, because everything happens in Florida. Now, a Florida couple is facing felony child neglect charges after authorities say they left their 2 young children unattended in a hotel room while they partied by the pool on Independence Day. Brian Canella, 43, and Allison Canella, 40, both of Delray Beach, were arrested on the 4th of July at the Reef House Resort and Marina in Key Largo. Monroe County Sheriff's Office deputies responded around 1:45 p.m. after resort staff reported hearing an unattended baby crying in a guest room. She entered the room and found 2 young children alone in nursery beds or cribs. Investigators later determined through security footage and witness statements that the parents had left the kids unsupervised for approximately 40 minutes to an hour while they were at the pool drinking alcoholic beverages. No serious injuries were reported to the children. The Department of Children and Families, or DCFS, was notified, and the kids were placed in the temporary custody of a family friend until DCF could take over. Both parents were arrested and each charged with 2 felony counts of child neglect without great bodily harm. They are scheduled to appear in court on September the 1st.
Okay, and you're not talking about 12-year-olds here that you said, okay, stay in the hotel room. Mom and dad are going to sit by the pool for a little while and have some alone time. You're talking about babies small enough to be in cribs. That's insane.
I'm wondering something about this, though, because I'm not saying 40 minutes is too long. Okay. But
any minutes is too long for babies in cribs.
What if they were napping? What if both babies were sleeping and they said, let's let them nap, let's run down, grab something, come right back up?
Absolutely not.
I'm just saying.
You would do that?
No.
You would leave your babies in a crib and a hotel room and leave?
No.
Okay.
Never.
Well, neither would I. It's again has nothing to do with the law. It has to do with common sense. That's when shit happens.
I know.
You never do that.
I was curious if they really just put those kids in that crib and had no excuse other than just because we wanted to go to the bar. Or I wonder if they said the babies were napping, we decided to let them sleep, and we ran to go. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just
it sounds like you're excusing it.
No, I'm just having a hard time wrapping my mind around leaving your babies in the crib and walking out. Stupidity. Yeah.
That's just dumb. I'm sorry. That's like I say, this isn't 12-year-olds that you're leaving and you're saying, don't do nothing stupid. We're going to hang out for a little while. These are babies.
I know.
Anything can happen.
I know. So, it wasn't smart. They deserve to be arrested. They do. I mean, you can't do that. Like that was.
Why do I suddenly feel like you left your babies in hotel rooms while you went gambling or something back in the day?
Negative Ghost Rider.
I feel like he did, because you're very defensive over this couple. I got no problem with that.
No, I'm just trying to understand.
I mean, they can't get out the crib.
Give them a bottle and leave.
What the hell's wrong with you?
No, I just like, wow, to leave 2 babies, not 1 but 2, is like crazy. That's why I was like, I wonder if but then what they should have done is one parent go down and get whatever they need and come back to the room, and you leave the other parent up there, not leave your babies.
They were wanting to go down there and drink.
I know, it was dumb.
Then why are you acting like you've done that before? Y'all, if you could see her face, this is why you need to get Patreon. She looks like she's done that before. And she's like, thank God I wasn't arrested.
Yes, I've left all my children in the hotel room.
It's nothing I would do. I would be way too nervous something would happen to my kids while I wasn't in there.
It would. It'd be my luck. They'd flip out of the crib or something. Like, I'm just saying, why? I mean, why? That just seems wild.
Stupidity, man.
It is. It's
every story we cover.
And it's a felony. Like, you've got felony charges on you now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, we're going to go into Scam Syndicate. This is basically a segment where we cover scams so that you don't have to get caught up in these scams. And we're going to tell you about an 84-year-old resident in Washington who was scammed out of roughly, get this, $420,000 in gold after falling for a sophisticated impersonation scheme that started with a fake Microsoft security alert. The case was one of just 4 major frauds reported in the area over a very short period, victims losing more than $673,000 in just 3 days. According to the Clam County Sheriff's Office. The nightmare started when an elderly victim opened what looked like an innocent email from their daughter, and it included a photo. Opening that triggered a fake Microsoft security pop-up warning of a problem, and it directed the victim to call a support number. That call quickly escalated. The person on the line claimed to be from the Federal Trade Commission and told the victim they were under investigation for serious federal crimes, including money laundering. The scammers warned the victim not to contact law enforcement, claimed local banks were under scrutiny, and insisted their accounts could be seized. To protect the assets, the victim was instructed to buy gold. Over 3 separate transactions, the 84-year-old purchased approximately $420,000 worth of gold and handed it over to an unknown man waiting at the end of her driveway. The victim only realized they had been duped after speaking with bank officials. And this wasn't an isolated incident. In the same short window, deputies fielded reports of 3 more frauds, including what's known as a phishing email drain, where a resident clicked on a link giving scammers access to financial accounts, and $50,000 was stolen from an investment account in that case. A fake Coinbase rescue, where a 64-year-old tried contacting Coinbase about a suspicious account issue, believed they were speaking to a legitimate representative, downloaded a rescue app, quote unquote, that granted remote access to their phone, and scammers convinced them to transfer $200,000 in crypto to a secure wallet, which the criminals immediately drained. And also a Microsoft pop-up Apple gift card scam, where another victim saw a fake Microsoft alert saying their computer was locked. A scammer named Samantha claimed that the victim's banking info had been compromised through adult websites. The victim was told to buy $3,500 in Apple gift cards, photograph the codes, and send them over, and obviously the money vanished instantly. Undersheriff Lorraine Shore emphasized that scammers prey on fear, trust, and urgency. She urged residents to stop before acting, call a trusted family member, bank, or local law enforcement. And key red flags, y'all, are fake security alerts or pop-ups, pressure to stay silent and avoid local police. If someone tells you, don't call the police, that's a problem. Requests for remote computer or phone access, never do that. Demands for payment in crypto, gift cards, or gold, big red flag. And someone showing up at your home to collect valuables is a problem. Legitimate companies and agencies like Microsoft, Apple, Coinbase, banks, or other legitimate companies will never demand these actions or tell you to avoid law enforcement.
And the sad thing here is I know people of younger generations are like, who would do that? But the problem is that that's why they target the elderly people, because they're not as well versed in computers and pop-ups and what's real and what's not. I mean, trying to go talk to your grandma about an AI video and they'll believe it's real. So it's really hard. And I know my own grandmother who, God rest her soul, we told her a million times, be careful, blah, blah, blah. She was able to be convinced to sign over her own power of attorney to a scammer one time. And we had to fight to get that back. So these people aren't dumb. They get scared because they're being, like you said, the high pressure situations, and it's just they give away their life savings. And
it's primarily elderly. Obviously, in this lady's case, she was 84, but look, there's 40 and 50-year-olds that fall for this shit. Right. Never click links from someone you don't know who they are. Yeah. Never. Yeah. Never. Nobody legitimate is going to tell you to do that. Always communicate with your bank. If someone's trying to scam you, they're going to tell you, don't call your bank. Yeah. Don't call law enforcement, things like that. Use that as keys, but it's getting worse and worse now with technology.
But another popular one too for younger people, like people, I say young, in our 40s, even I have at one time fell for it. It was from like a corporate email, where you don't know everybody that's in your agency, and it said something like I'm gonna say party invite, but it wasn't a party, but it seemed like one of the legitimate e-invitations to join in for a Zoom meeting type thing. And I don't know why, but I was like, oh crap, I must have missed this. And I clicked it and it was not a legitimate link. But because we have so many people in the agency, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get emails from people that you don't know. So just be wary, and it can happen to anybody. But for the love of God, do not give over anything of value ever.
Right.
Ever, ever.
And sometimes, before we get off that, sometimes just clicking on the links is all they need.
Yeah.
Because the programs of them ran, they can access your computer and see all your passwords, including your banking passwords.
Yep. And that's scary.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to New York. This one makes no sense whatsoever, but hang with us on this one. So, a married couple from New York is accused of traveling to Florida and opening fire on the home of a woman who had recently ended an affair with the husband. So Angelo Portelli, 41, and his wife, 53-year-old Natalie Lopez Portelli, have been charged in connection with the alleged shooting at an Orange County, Florida home in December of 2025. The investigation revealed Angelo of New York allegedly had a brief but very intense affair with a woman that he met on TikTok. That woman then broke off the affair in October when she learned from Natalie that Angelo had been lying to the woman about him and Natalie getting a divorce.
Okay.
Weeks later, on December the 6th, Angelo and Natalie allegedly arrived at the woman's home and tried to lure her and her fiance out, claiming that their vehicle had
her fiance, huh?
Yeah. How you like that?
Plot thickens.
Claiming that their vehicle had been broken into. Now, why on earth would they go outside, which is a great question, but the affidavit adds that Angelo and Natalie were in disguise and the woman did not recognize them at the time. And that makes sense, right? Because you wouldn't expect someone who lives in New York to be in Florida. So as the fiance went to check the vehicle, Angelo allegedly approached him from behind and seemingly tried to put him in a chokehold. Angelo and the woman's fiance got into a brief altercation that resulted in an exchange of gunfire. It wasn't clear from security footage who fired the shot first, but both men are claiming it was the other one who shot first. At one point during the gunfire exchange, Angelo allegedly fired several rounds at the residence, and the bullets hit several parts of the house, including the insides, according to investigator. And that woman's two daughters were present inside the residence at the time of the shooting. Angelo and Natalie were reportedly in Florida to celebrate their anniversary. Natalie's father told police. Both Angelo and Natalie have been charged with 4 counts of second-degree attempted murder, battery by strangulation, and criminal mischief.
I mean, you can't make that shit up. And why is, so this guy, he's lying to this other girl. He's saying, oh, I'm getting a divorce, and she's buying this, and then somehow apparently it communicates with his real wife, and she says, no, we're not getting a divorce. And it's like they then get in cahoots and decide they're going to kill this lady, it sounds like. But she's got a fiance. Well, when did he pop in the picture? Was it after this? That's the part I don't know the answer to. But what a web. What a tangled web.
What a web we weave.
Yeah, when you're doing shit like that. But, there was one part in that article that you mentioned where both of them are saying, well, he shot at me. He shot at me first. First of all, it doesn't matter because the people went to their house from New York. And that right there is a problem. It's obvious they were targeting these people. Yeah. So who are you going to believe in that scenario?
I know. Let's go celebrate our anniversary by attacking the woman that you were having an affair with together. It's a bonding experience.
Never heard a story quite like that.
That's crazy.
It's different.
There's a lot going on there. There's children involved. There's fiancés, and there's husband and wife duos attacking.
I guess maybe she's like, well, the only way I'm believe you're not going to go after her again is to kill her. I don't know.
And he's like, if I can't have her, then no one can.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like the wife might have said, you go kill that bitch now. It sounds like to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm speculating. I don't know shit.
I mean, I know you never say never, but I can say.
But she went with him. It's like, I want to see you do it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
But then to wear disguises? Bro, y'all are some
Well, they got cameras out there, maybe.
Devious.
They're worried about ring cameras. I don't know.
Well, you got on that one.
Well, that's it. That's all for this week. Any final thoughts, Kelly Jennings?
I hope that everybody will check out our Patreons and go join. There's, like I always say, there's free stuff on there, and you can get all the extra content that you want. And thank you for sending us articles. Continue to do so.
Any other final thoughts?
What? How many final damn thoughts do you want?
I just like how you get so pressured when I ask you that. It's like you want to come up with, some sort of
I know what I'm going to do.
Monumental thing to say.
I'm going to take Bob Barker's lead. Yes, my final thought, spay and neuter your animals and control your local animal population.
I like it. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it. It helps to build the show. And until next time, for Crime Wire Weekly, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
And this is Overtime.